Alright folks, welcome back. In this video we're going to be refilling some of my propane tanks. I got 4 of my Flame Kings that I'm going to refill today off a 20-pound tank. And I'm going to do a separate video on how I refill my 5-pound propane tank. I bring my 5-pound if I'm going to be out for a full day. I usually bring that. If I'm just going to be out for a partial day, I usually bring like 2 or 3 of these. And this is just going to be on the Flame Kings. I'm not going to show you guys how to do the disposable Coleman, because these ones technically, once you use them, it says right on the bottle that you can't refill and transport. These ones you can refill and transport. So this video is just going to be on the Flame King, not on the Coleman disposables. And the cost breakdown for these, if you refill them yourself, comes down to about $1.30 per refill versus going to the store and paying $5 for the disposable. And I really only see them in 2 packs now, so you have to buy $10 worth of propane whenever you need, to bring propane somewhere. So that gets incredibly expensive. So I find you get your investment back pretty quickly when you go this route. These are down to like, I think I paid like $30 for a pair of 2 of them, and I have 6 total. I'm going to get another 2, and once I get 8 total, I'm probably going to completely phase out of the little Colemans. And this is a completely new tank. I just went and got this. I just did a swap, so this is completely full. So I'll just show you this tank real quick. I mean, there's nothing fancy. You have your tank, you have your standard thread just like you do on your Coleman stoves, and there's a little bleeder valve screw right here that you have to open when you're transferring the propane. When you open this, it allows the air pressure to leave the tank and completely fill with propane. And that's basically it for the tank. I mean, the tank is pretty standard. You need this type of adapter. This was like a $10 adapter off Amazon. It may be a little more than that right now. And it's also good to have a cheap food scale just so you can weigh your tanks after you fill them. And just some numbers real quick. I refer to these as a 20-pound tank. I always have. But technically they only put 15 pounds of propane in it. So I have up here 20-pound. An empty tank weighs right around 17 pounds. And a full tank, I've had a little bit of discrepancy. It's plus or minus 32, 33, 34 pounds in that range because it's only 15 pounds of propane. An empty Flame King clocks in right around 1.45 pounds. And it says it also down here, tare weight of 1.4 pounds. And I can get just about a full pound of propane in these. Once in a while it comes out at like 0.8, but if it comes out at 0.8, I just leave it at that. I don't, put the extra 0.2 in. So really, this should come out around like 2.4 pounds when it's full. So this adapter is pretty simple. Again, this is a reverse thread. So just reverse thread that in. And I go hand tight. And I give it a snug, about a third of a turn or so. Because oftentimes, when you screw your tank on, sometimes you can back that adapter out. And that's basically it. I'll show you guys how I do this. I'll try to get a good angle. So I'll show you what I do with the bleeder valve here. This bleeder valve screw can turn quite a ways out. And what I do is I only do like maybe half a turn just to let enough air out. I find I don't have to do any more than that. And I find, if this is opened all the way, there's a lot of propane that'll come out of here. And the quicker I can get that closed, the better, and easier I feel like it is. So we'll get this filled up. And I don't know if you saw that, but just with tightening from the tank, it had enough leverage to back that adapter out. So just gave that a little extra crank there. And oftentimes that bleeder valve doesn't come at the most convenient area, so I don't think you guys can see that because it's pointing down. With a tank upside down, just crank this open and you can hear that air pressure coming out. And I'll maybe change it from this angle here. And I'm in my shed too with both doors open. I can't remember if I said that earlier. And this propane will start to spit out, and I prefer it to have a pretty steady stream. And I got my key there ready. should be spitting out any time. It takes about a minute. I've never actually measured it, but it takes about 60 seconds. All right, starting to spit. I'm going to wait for a good stream. And that's a good stream in my opinion. And I gave that key a good snug turn. Just going to let that settle for a quick minute. And I can actually feel the cold on my glove there. So you always want to have gloves on. And you guys can't see on camera, but I'm standing to the side of this tank. I'm not standing right behind it. And now I'm going to tilt it away from me. I'm going to turn this off. And when you take your tank off, there will be a little bit of propane come out. That's sitting in the adapter here. So I just back it off slow. And you probably saw that propane come out. And this tank should be full. This should clock in right around like 2.3, 2.4. Yeah, that's a little light. Again, like I said, sometimes I only get like 80% in, which that's pretty close to 80%. If I would have let that go longer, maybe it would have went up to 2.3, 2.4, but I'm happy with that. I'm fine with that. That's good enough for me. And the last thing I do on these tanks is I always give this bleeder valve a double check. Make sure that's tight. I always take some warm soapy water and put it around that valve there. Put it out of the bleeder valve where the pressure actually comes out. And I'll put a little bit up in here. Put a little bit all around the rim here. Just to make sure no bubbles are coming out. If you have bubbles coming out, it means you have a leak somewhere. And I don't know how well that's showing on camera, but I put, you know, a fair amount of that soapy water on there. And that tank doesn't have one leak at all. And after I let it sit for 20-30 seconds, I always wipe that off. I just always kind of maybe feel like, you know, the dish soap over time could mess with the seals. Probably wouldn't, but it's just something that I always think about. So after I check that, I put these caps on that they come with. And this is plastic, and I find the plastic doesn't thread perfectly, so I just get that on the best I can, because I wouldn't want to damage the threads in transport. I mean, I usually transport these right in my heater bag, and that's on pretty snug. And that is it, folks. That tank is about 80% full and ready to use. I'm a couple years in with these, and I feel like these are very handy to have. I haven't had one problem with them. $1.30 versus $5 with the disposables. So in the long run, once you get your setup going, I feel like it's well worth the investment. But if you folks have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll try my best to answer them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.